Welcome back to episode 3 of the Skinsider podcast. We are thrilled to be here today because we have one of our first guests, and yay! We are also so excited to be talking about one of the biggest beauty trends that is going on today in the aesthetic world, and it is permanent makeup.
Yes, and we wanted to get the most information for you guys about it. So we brought in the best expert that we could possibly find. This is Sarah Frank. She is the owner of Surreal
Hey girl,
Beauty
hey.
Aid.
Hey Sarah.
Yes. Hey girl. Yes. So I had to actually write down her list of accomplishments and why we chose her because it is that long actually. So settle in because there's so many in town, but she has been the owner of her business for 5 years now. She's also a Beauty Angels Academy master trainer. So she trains a lot of the people that are doing permanent makeup out in the world. So in 2023, she was rated #1 by Gulf Shore Life. She was featured in the Naples Scout Guide of 2023 and 2024. And this is the biggest one. I'm so excited to even announce this because it literally just happened. And I don't even know if most of you listening know this. So she competed in a national competition and came in second. It was the Browista Championship for Nano Machine Brow. So this is huge. She's #2 in the entire nation. It's amazing for us that she's right here in Naples, Florida, because actually she did my brows and she did my lip blushing.
She did my lips too.
Yes. And so we just stole her from her business for a day because we wanted to interview her because we knew that this was our best chance to give you all of the credible information that we possibly could. Because we are just trying to pack in as much information as we can, we aren't going to do a buzzword this episode because we just wanted to utilize her time. We'll bring that back for episode 4 though, so don't worry about that. So let's begin. We're going to fire off a couple questions at you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies. It's an honor.
Question 1, Sarah. So tell us about you. What is your backstory and how did you get here?
So, backing up to my high school days, I became very much I became very much into makeup. I started playing around with it. All of my friends wanted me to do their makeup. And in that time, I also discovered the eyebrow pencil. I naturally have very sparse, minimal eyebrows. And so it was very life-changing for me when I picked that up.
What was your favorite pencil?
Ooh, honestly, it was probably, it was the Dip Brow by Anastasia. It wasn't even like the pencil.
Okay, the pomade. Yeah, I've never been able to use that, which is why I had you do my brows. It was
bad. They were dark.
So how did you decide to start a business with it then?
So let's see. As I was starting to get older, I always knew that I wanted to have a business. So I would just had these random jobs, just trying to roll with the punches and figure things out as I go. I never really went the school route. I was not a fan. So finally, I was about 25 and I realized that, I should do what I love.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Southern California, but I've lived in Naples now, in Florida for 12 years. I started in the Venice and Sarasota area, which is where I started doing permanent makeup originally. I practiced there for about a year and a half, maybe a little bit more. And then when my apprenticeship was up, I ultimately decided to relocate, mainly because I was already living in Fort Myers and commuting all this way. And it just didn't even make sense to move back. I was like, this type of field is always finding new clients. It's, you see people maybe every 1, 2, or even 3 years or more. So it's always finding new people. And I'm like, you know what? I already have a good portfolio. I could go wherever I want. So I looked around in Fort Myers, looked around in Naples, and I was immediately more impressed with Naples. And I'm so glad I ended up here, by the way, because I wouldn't have met you guys.
We're happy to have
you. So thank you guys.
And of mine.
Yeah, my brows are happy to have
you. So are mine.
Okay, so then your business, it was not always in Naples.
Right. So it was definitely scary trying to start out in a new area because, again, no clientele, nobody knows me. I don't know anybody. But I just kind of like had to get creative and come up with ways to get clients in. And what I did was I moved into some salon suites and I utilized the girls that were already in there. And I just said, hey, I'll do your brows for a super discount. I'm new here. If you like my work, I'd love to do your brows for super cheap. Just something so that I could pay my rent if I get enough people.
And then you have word of mouth.
Yeah, we have all been there.
Yes. And then I was kind of like running a small promotion as well for any of their clients that they referred to me. And it just kind of like blew up from there, which was an amazing surprise. I feel like when things just kind of like click and connect, that's when you know like you're on the right path.
Yes.
So, right choice and decision.
Yep, absolutely. So everything just really worked out. And let's see, then I was there from October of 2020 at the Salon Suites until August of 2022. So a little over a year and a half. And from there, I went and opened up my own studio space.
In such a short time.
Yeah. Like I said, it just blew up, and I'm so blessed. I'm super happy.
What do you feel like one of your biggest hurdles was during that time in moving to a new area?
Yeah, like that transitional time.
I would say I didn't really, you plan things out to be a certain way when you're moving spaces, and I didn't really give myself, I gave myself almost like too much time because I gave myself not enough time because I moved out at the beginning of August from my salon suites, and then my new place wasn't ready enough yet. Until the end of August. Like painting those walls, my boyfriend and I did that. It took forever.
He's an incredible artist, by the way. Okay, so now you originally from Southern California, then you moved to the Sarasota area, then you were in Fort Myers, now you're in Naples. Do you feel like you made the right choice? Like, what's your favorite part about having it in Naples? Do you want to stay?
I would definitely love to stay here. I love Naples. I really feel like everybody that I've met here has been truly amazing. I've made amazing connections, amazing friends, and I feel like the clientele, which it wasn't in my agenda at all. I wasn't like, oh, how's the clientele there? I was just like, this place looks nice. I want to go there. But the clientele is actually very amazing.
Yeah, we've had the best luck with that also.
Yeah,
definitely.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sarah, so there's so many different natural techniques to permanent makeup. How could you decipher between those natural looks?
So if we're going to go by terminology, everybody kind of uses their own terminology. And what I mean by that is, so first I'll tell you guys what I do and kind of some of the terms to look out for. But the techniques that I specialize in are nano machine brows, aka nano realism brows. And that is a realistic hair-like technique done with machine. And then I also do a powder brow technique, which is just like a filled in look. And it's actually what I have on my brows. Jacqueline has a combination of the two. She has strokes at the front.
Just about to ask, what do I have?
Then powder shading like mine throughout the rest. Still very natural. Either can look very natural. They can either be more defined or more, definitely more natural, which is typically what I like to go for. If somebody wants something very defined, I kind of try to talk them off the ledge, because ultimately you're supposed to just wake up and it's supposed to just look nice.
Look like a brow.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So not necessarily one is more natural than the other. It's just figuring out on that person's face what is going to look best. And skin, exactly. I'm assuming too.
Yeah.
Like older skin, younger skin, oily skin, dry skin, does all that play into it?
So to a degree, yes. With my techniques, no, because they're both great for all skin types. The technique that you want to look out for that might not be good on mature skin, or oily skin, or very textured skin would be microblading, which is done with the blade where you cut the skin. It's just not as stable in very many skin types. at all. It is a great technique, but your skin needs to be perfect. I mean, either of you would have been nice candidates for it, but
thank you.
You're welcome, because you have beautiful skin, both of you.
We work hard.
But I'd rather do more so something, even though you would be great candidates for it, I'd rather do the thing that's also the least painful.
Okay.
No, so clearly this is an art form as well, but hearing you talk about it, it sounds like there's a lot of science behind the procedures as well.
Yes.
So can you kind of explain the difference between that? Because, how do you map it out on the face, and then how is it like technically done?
Yes. So there's definitely a science to it. It's like science and art combined. Mm-hmm. If you just simply take like a ruler to the forehead and just perfectly like map everything out to perfect measurements, no two sides of the face are the same on anybody. So it's more so by like visual symmetry. There's not one person that I've run into that has a perfectly symmetrical face. So I map out the proportions, where they start, where the arch is, and where the tail is. And then from there, I'll just kind of like freehand the proper shaping. And then as far as like terminology goes, if you're out there, if you're a client and you're out there and you see some artists and you're interested in their work, and maybe you want to take my advice and go for the machine route, first things first, you want to see healed work and long-term healed work. But then also there's some people that will refer to their technique as nanoblading, or they'll still even call it nano brows, but it's not done with the machine. So nanoblading, if it has the word blade in it, that means it's like
it's done with
using the blade.
It's done with the blade, exactly. So no fault of theirs, just reach out to them and talk to them and make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into. And then, that's okay.
No,
and then the other thing when it comes to combining art and science is you can make just about anything look good, but what's the depth? Mm-hmm. You have to know proper depth, how it feels when you're working the pigment into the skin. Depth is everything. If you go too shallow, it's just going to fall right out in a month. If you go too deep, then you're going to end up with blue brows, as I'm sure you've seen a ton of, Jacqueline.
I've seen a ton of those. I've removed a ton of those. Yes. Yes, I have.
So yeah, it's pretty tricky, and I'll be honest, when I was new, it was very challenging, and not everything turned out perfect, but unfortunately, that's how we learn. So definitely find someone experienced, unless, of course, you know that the person is newer. Then if you're willing to take that risk, then by all means.
And this is super random and totally off the topic of the information she's providing, but hearing her say the word art just like triggered this in my mind. So her boyfriend is an artist. He goes by the name Cloud Kent. You have got to look him up, and you've got to come and see her studio. If you are traveling to Naples, just pop in and see it. It is like an art gallery. He did all of the art. There's feature walls. I mean, it's beautiful. It's completely top notch. It looks like you are in a cool, fun, funky art gallery, and I just suggest taking pictures there. If you are in Naples, definitely stop by and look up Cloud Kent. I had to give him a shameless plug.
Oh, thank you. I already know he appreciates that.
I do have a question though when it comes to the permanent makeup. Have you ever told somebody that it's not going to work for them what they want and detoured them off into something else?
So back when I was only doing microblading and the powder brow technique, because again, the microblade is done with the blade, and then the powder brow is done with machine, which is compatible with all skin types. I would often get these sweet older ladies that had delicate skin and sun-damaged skin, and they wanted microblading, but I knew if I gave them what they wanted, that they would end up hating me because they would have possible scarring. It would definitely get too deep. Mm-hmm. So I would often have to steer people in the direction of doing the powder brow, which I could tell, like, they want a certain look. They want the realism. So I felt bad when I would have to steer people the other way, but I knew it was the best option for them. But now I can give them what they want.
Perfect.
And I think it's hard too, because in our industry in general, one of the obstacles is they want what they've seen someone else get, but they don't always understand
that not everyone,
right? Like hairdressers deal with this. Like they'll come in and be like, I want this cut, but they don't have that type of hair. Like
or they have a colic.
Yes. Or you know, they'll say something like, oh, well, you did my friend's brows and this is what you did. This is what I want. But maybe it doesn't map out that way on that face, or maybe their particular skin can't handle that technique. Like, how do you kind of go about that?
I just will take the time to educate them, either in a consultation if they really want that, or even just at the appointment. I can talk to them about it. I can treat the initial part of the appointment as a consultation and just kind of like steer them in the right direction, or do it over the phone prior. So it's all about educating, and I always take the time to educate my clients.
So with the permanent makeup that you do offer, is there any downtime, any trauma involved?
So very minimal trauma. Thank you for asking that. That's the beauty of the machine work. When done correctly, by the way, it can all be done correctly or incorrectly. But the beauty of it when it's executed properly is downtime is very minimal. I would say about half of my clients experience mild flaking, and it will just kind of look like little pieces of pigment flaking off of the skin, but thin pieces. And then in a week from the appointment, they're all healed up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course the skin goes through the regeneration process of like 28 days plus. So it goes through some stages, but the skin is closed.
That's where science comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what's something, like, use this opportunity to tell us, what's something you wish everyone knew about permanent makeup that people don't typically know?
Let's see. I mean, so many things. I think the biggest thing is that how natural it could really look. Because I do get a lot of people that are like nervous initially. They're like, I love your work, but I'm just still nervous about it coming out too dark or too thick. Right. And then I just kind of like talk to them about all their concerns. Like we start more conservative in thickness and even in the depth that I work and all the things. So.
Because a lot of feedback I get when I'm removing like kind of improper work or work that someone doesn't like, they'll say to me like, oh, I'm too nervous to get it done again. I just wish my brows looked like yours. And I'm like, but I do have it done. It can look like this. Like mine, I have like had to get up close to people and be like, look, because they don't believe that it's actually permanent makeup. Yeah. Because it looks so natural.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, is that something you would say to someone who's nervous about getting the procedure done? Yeah,
that it can just be extremely natural. And even I show them my eyebrows too, because typically I come to work with like only mascara on, because that's the beauty of it. Like you can just be minimal with your makeup and you're put together.
For you to do my eyeliner.
I got you. Whenever you're ready.
Who is a good candidate and who might not be a good candidate?
I would say actually everybody's a great candidate for either nano or powder. The only reason one would not be is if they have previous work that I can't work over. So then I would refer them to you for the removal, but sometimes people don't even want to do that. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to go through like not having eyebrows. And then of course I just tell them you can pencil right over afterwards. The laser doesn't break the skin. Right. But then still some people, they just don't want to do it. But mostly, I mean, you see tons of people from me. So mostly they take the advice and they come and get the removal.
And we've been bouncing back and forth for so long now that I know your tastes. Like I'll do a removal and be like, Sarah's going to need another one. Or like, no, Sarah will take this. She'll be happy with this. Yeah. And they're like, how do you know? I'm like,
So how many sessions do you really take per client when you're removing them? 3, 4?
You usually are like 2. I would say like anywhere from 1 to 3. We typically do before
that's the average.
That you're happy with, and then you'll work on top of it.
Mm-hmm. There's been like maybe like 1 or 2 where they needed more, but that's extremely rare.
If they weren't following the proper depth and they went too deep.
Oh yeah, when it's like super deep,
I
And
listen.
super just
And
like
I
dark,
listen.
just like
That
dark,
ish is
like
in there.
Nike swish.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nike swoosh.
It is in
I
there.
did one of those once, a removal that looked like a Nike
Horrible.
swoosh.
I'm
So
very sorry.
I'm finding it interesting though because
R.I.P.
with,
Nike.
I know. I'm just finding it interesting because with tattoo artists, like we hear a lot about people who fly to get it done by these artists. Like they'll fly to other countries and states. And now I think we're kind of seeing that with permanent makeup artists also, where people are flying to other countries and states to get it done by these professionals that they find like on Instagram or they come across their portfolio. Has that happened to you yet?
Yeah, it's happened a few times actually. A few offhand that I can think of.
That is so cool.
So it definitely, it feels really good. I'm like, dang, like a mother and daughter, they came from Boston. I'm like, hey.
Aww.
And then they spent like half the day with me because they both got their brows done. But yeah, it's the best feeling ever. Truly.
Oh, that is so great.
That is great.
love
Now,
that.
do your consultations, are they done first prior or do you do it the day of the service?
It depends on the client's comfort level. Like I just asked them, like, so do you want to do like a phone consult, in-person consult, or do you just want to come to the appointment? And they're like, I would say most of the time they just come to the appointment because they see the work and they want to come in.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like it's such an important part of the face that people don't want to sit without that, especially if they've gone through the removal process or they don't have anything at all. Like they're just ready to like jump in and begin.
yeah, exactly.
What about males in the industry getting any permanent makeup? Hairline or brows?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked. So men are starting to do it now. Believe it
you,
or not,
men.
I know. There's men have a
catching
need
on.
for it.
They're catching on. We're looking at you,
yes,
producer.
You need it too. I got you. But yes, for the men, really the only adjustment that I make for them, because obviously we don't want to give them like a nice uplifted
Beautiful,
feminine brow, unless of course they want that, but most men don't probably. So I would just relax the arch and make the arch the thickest area versus the front. The front would be thinner or the same as the arch and flatter. That way they don't have like, beautiful brows. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
Yeah,
too perfect.
yeah.
Very true.
Also, I did want to mention something. When people are worried to get them removed because they don't want to walk around with like the brows off the face and they're like, they don't want to pencil them in. What about those little kits with the stencils and then you just powder them right in?
Yeah. I
That's a good
recommend them having something on hand because the biggest thing I tell people during the removal process is whether or not you liked your brows, you're used to having brows on.
Yeah.
So now as we're removing them, you're going to feel a little funny.
Right.
So have something on hand to
That's it. Let's make
to be
the kits
filling
and
it
sell
in.
'em.
Yeah. There we go.
Those kits.
You heard it here first, everybody.
Yes.
We're going to make some brow
Patented.
kits.
So one of the things that we're going to be doing with all of our guests is we're going to be asking them what their favorite skincare product is and why.
Yes.
So you are our first. Anyone that you've got that you love, you can't live without it. What is it and why?
Must have.
Yeah, you must have. You're on a desert island and you can bring one skincare product.
Probably anything with salicylic acid in it because
you're
I'm
right.
acne prone, and a light moisturizer with no fragrances.
Any specific one that you use that you like?
I kind of like to switch around between things because my skin gets used to things and then I feel like it just like doesn't work anymore. So right now I've been between one by Face Reality. I think it's called Cran Peptide moisturizer or something like that. And then I also really like the Tatcha, I think it's the water cream. So I kind of like
the Tatcha one.
go
Yeah.
between both of those. And I really
I
like
know
it.
that one. Another thing that we do on every episode, and we're going to hit you with it now, is we read a Reddit question at the end of each episode. So we're going to ask you one. We found one regarding permanent makeup. But just so everyone knows, no one's prepped on the Reddit question because we want to hear a candid response. It's one, just more fun that way, but also we want to know how you would handle a situation, or if someone came to a consultation and was asking you this question, how would you respond? Take it away, Ashley.
All right. Hi, all.
I'm scared.
Hi, all. I'm due to get my eyebrows done this weekend, and I'm starting to freak out a little. It's something I've thought about for a while, and we are getting married in a few months, so I thought now could be a good time to treat myself. However, I've started to come across stories / pictures of regret, with lots of people saying that their microblading faded to a really red, orange color or gray, so they had to cover them up with makeup to get them redone. People have also said they often get blacky over time rather than continuing to look like hair strokes. Can anyone who has had their eyebrows done years ago give me your honest review? Is it necessary to go back for touch-ups to cover up red, gray, blocky eyebrows over time? Does anyone regret it? Or the opposite? Has anyone had theirs done for a long time and had a good experience? Help me. Thank you.
So, I love this question. So,
I love that they call block eyebrows blocky.
Yeah, she literally
Blocky. Does that mean like thick? Like
yeah, like a block.
and probably like squared at the front. That's what a lot of people, they tell me. They're like, I don't want square eyebrows. Like, okay, perfect. Luckily, I don't know how to do that.
So it can't even happen by honest mistake, everybody, because she doesn't even know how to do it. So that's fine.
I just can't do it. Make it happen. But so where you get the discolored pigment, I already touched on the blues earlier. That's from pigment being implanted too deep. Well, that's the main way that can happen. It can also come from improper color theory, putting a pigment in a skin tone that needed more warmth. But also it could just be due to the pigment type. And then reds come from imbalanced pigments, typically from somebody over adding the reds to modify it for somebody's skin tone, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So reds are the largest molecules. So the body metabolizes those very last. So the other colors in the pigment, the body metabolizes those faster.
Interesting.
There's that science, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I like that science part of it. So color, you like mixing color. You really understand the chemistry and the mixtures and warmth and cools.
I think that's why when I do the
very
removal
important.
process, like I see colors like coming down.
And
like
reds are always last.
yes.
To come through, to like lift through.
And I believe too, reds can be even like from resin in the pigments. I don't know too much about that yet. It's still an evolving learning for me as well. Like I'm always picking up new information. So
Well, and the technology is always changing.
Absolutely.
The products are always changing. We deal with that. I think everybody in every single industry deals with that.
Absolutely.
And that's hard, but it keeps us on our toes, which I think is nice too.
And that's why continuing education is so important.
Yes.
And making sure that people are up to date on all things that are new coming out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Keep it in my head.
So my international trainers, one of them is from Canada. The other one is from Hungary. I never know if I'm saying that right. And then the most recent one is actually from South Korea. He came to my shop.
Oh, wow.
My best friend and I invited him over and he taught a class and I got to
so cool.
pick up some things from his technique and it was phenomenal. I would say the best artists are from Europe and from Asian countries. Like they know what they're doing with the beauty stuff. They've pioneered like the nano. I mean, really, actually, all of the techniques, they pioneered it, but they really know what they're doing.
Poland referenced also. Like, there's a lot of really experienced artists in Poland.
Ukraine, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Romania, I think.
That's
also.
interesting. Yeah.
Pick any European country.
Yeah.
There's amazing artists there.
Well, a lot of the Middle Eastern women, they love permanent makeup.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that they're so into it.
And is there a reason why Europe's kind of ahead of the game, you feel like, or Asia being ahead of the game?
I have no idea. Maybe they're just extra talented. I don't know.
It's in their blood, guys.
It's in their blood.
Travel to Hawaii for a training?
I did. The teacher from Canada, he was hosting a training in Hawaii, and I was like, oh, I can write that one off. So
love it. It's a write-off. David, what's a write-off, David?
Yeah. I love that show.
I do have a question, though, for you. Do you have any future plans of maybe starting in training classes and doing your own?
Yes, yeah, I do trainings right now. I mainly do one-on-ones.
Okay.
I don't really do a whole lot of group trainings because to me it's quite overwhelming. God bless the people that can do it, but I don't have the energy for that. So I'd rather just do
I
like
feel
one
like
or
it's
two at a time.
Better to learn one-on-one than in a big group setting.
I agree.
So
I feel like I can be more effective too. So.
And then with that training and the one-on-one that you do, you give certifications?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Through Beauty Angels Academy. The owner invited me a couple years ago now to be one of their masters. So.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Their certification and their platform.
Good for you.
So tell us, what's next for Sarah Frank and Surreal Beauty Inc.? What's the next step? What's your goals?
Oh gosh. I want to be able to hire some people that I've trained. So those are some goals. There's some challenges with that, of course. Hiring people is very challenging.
Oh, we don't know anything about that. Sorry, we can't help you there. We've never experienced that actually. Yeah, no, we've never experienced that. So I don't no, I don't know.
And I want to venture off into other things as well. Like I'll always be doing brows and lips and eyes. I'll always be doing permanent makeup, but
yes, please, because I might need a touch up down the road.
Yes. Oh, for sure. But I definitely, I've always wanted to have like a makeup line and maybe get into
so
fashion.
Cool.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not cutting myself off to anything. Like,
I love that.
Go do whatever I want. The
Yeah.
sky's the limit.
Yep. Hard work pays off.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So we had a bunch of questions for Sarah today. She answered all of them for us. But if you have questions for Sarah, you can reach her via her Instagram at Surreal Beauty Inc. Or you can send her an email. Her email is sarah@surrealbeautyinc.com. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube, in our information box, we're going to link her information so you can contact her directly and ask her whatever questions that you might have. And stay tuned for episode 4, where it's going to be my morning skincare lineup and Ashley's morning skincare lineup. So kind of like a get ready with us, what we use every single morning to get our skin ready for the day.
Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, love your skin.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you guys. It was such an honor.